Okay, my name is Rakhia Ismail. I'm a local councillor in Islington. I'm also currently the mayor of Islington. I was supposed to actually step down in May, but due to COVID, I'm going to be around for a little longer as I'm here with you as the mayor of Islington. But what I can say to all the sisters who would like to become councillors or get involved in politics, before you do get involved in politics, I think the best thing is to ask yourself questions, lots of questions. Why do you want to go into politics? What is that you really want to change? Because the thing about politics is like many women or many men would say, like, I want to become a councillor or I want to become an MP because I want to make the difference. That you want, I want to actually see a tangible change. A change that when I look back, that I can see something is happening. And you always need to look out. What is it that in the community that's not working? What is it that needs to be changed? I'm sure there are many things that needs to be changed in terms of our youth. There is huge knife crime and quite dissatisfied country. If there's something change, you need to be also not just working yourself on your own, but you work with people like your local groups. I'm a mom of 4. All my 4 children are, big, and some finish university. So for me, it was more about investment into my local community and make a change for local people who sometimes are hard to reach, sometimes who are not hard to reach, but really haven't got the idea or the clue. My own background also helped me. I'm trained and graduated as a textile shoemaker designer. So I was always interested to set art projects, help the community, find out, and always ask the impossible questions. Sometimes it's not good. The good thing about it's important. Why it's important is every day it's about when you leave your front door, the road that's in front of your door, the little parking front, is all set up by people like us, ideas, politicians, discussions, consultations, community involvement, activities. That's what's needed. And you need to think that way. And the only way that we women, we are ethnic minority and non-ethnic minority, we need to put ourselves and really make not just a change, and something that is positive, that your community come to you and say to you, thank you. Because at the end of the day, myself, I'm a public, I do for myself, is I want to see the difference with young people. I want to see the difference with pensioners. I want to see the different society, civil society, that something positive. And of course, as a Muslim myself, woman, as a Black ethnic minority, as a Somali, I just of all walks say, thank you, you really have helped me. And that's all you need, is make a change. And the last thing for me, I would often politicians stay too long in seats. Don't stay too long. 10 years, you can do in 10 years or 2 terms what you came into politics to achieve. I don't think any politician can, in their right hand mind, tell me that they're going to achieve something better. So we need to give people opportunities, people ideas to come through. Thank you so much. I hope I have not spoken too fast for everyone.
Okay, thanks so much, Rakhia. No, Jazakallah, thank you so much. I think we did have some internet issues and you were breaking up a little, but I'm hoping that at least someone got, at least, some of us got all of it. And actually, even when you were breaking up, it was very inspirational to kind of hear. I'd love to have, we probably need to have a session longer with each of you. So thank you very much. I'm going to also try and join from another group.
Thank you.
So I'm Councillor Humaira Ali. I'm with the Liberal Democrats and I am a councillor for the ward of London Bridge and West Bermondsey, which is in central London. I have some famous sites such as the Shard, City Hall, Tower Bridge. Technically Tower Bridge belongs to the city in my ward. I've only been involved in politics for 3 years. I was elected 2 years ago. And I just wanted to kind of quickly tell you about how I got here, because my parents are Pakistani Indian. My sister and I were born and raised here in Southeast London. And as I was growing up, on the TV, you would see, like, you know, the Houses of Parliament, and you would see a lot of white people, mainly white men, braying at each other on the Houses of Parliament, you know, when, and I'm old enough to remember when they put Parliament on TV for the first time. And it never occurred to me that someone like me could potentially go and sit there. And I had no clue that there was such a thing as local councillors. I didn't even know what that was. And so I went about my life, went to, you know, had the opportunity to go to university, and then went into the world of work. And as I got into my 30s, you know, the thing that was just going around and round in my head is, there's got to be more to life than work. I mean, there are people in the world who can't afford to put a roof over their head, food on the table, basic human rights violations. But I just didn't know, like, what I could do in that particular space. And I didn't grow up in a political family. We didn't really have political conversations. The classic, you know, parents might talk Pakistani politics to relatives in Pakistan, but definitely not, you know, politics here. And so, you know, I was just kind of really unaware of anything. And then in 2017, an old school friend said to me, didn't say it to me, she posted on Facebook and she said, I'm really proud to have been selected as a candidate for Lewisham East. And it was a sliding doors moment about, do I ask her? What does that mean? Or do I just let it go by in my feed? So there I wrote to her and I said, you know, can you tell me, like, how do you go from there to Parliament? And, you know, she said, why don't you come along? And so off I trundled from Bermondsey down to Lewisham. And she said, right, gave me a bag of leaflets and said, we're going to go and knock on some doors and talk to people, because we need to understand what the key issues are in the area. She said, I have a broad idea already, but I really want to get an understanding from the people in this particular area. And I was quite horrified by some of the things that I'd heard, you know, and experienced. So, you know, there was 3 or 4 adults living in a 1-bedroom flat, damp mold on the walls, you know, children who perhaps should have been at school who weren't at school, you know, all sorts of interesting things going on there. And then in some other households, it was the usual decry of the rent's too high. I just thought, this isn't right. And she said to me, Humaira, we can't win here in Lewisham. This is Labour stronghold, Labour territory. But where you live in Bermondsey has always had a liberal tradition. Come and campaign in your own neighbourhood. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, you know, this is run on volunteers. Shocker. So there I showed up, and I found myself going back day after day, because the conversations that I heard with my neighbours, you know, hearing what people had to say about their lives just was a massive eye-opener. And it's not that you don't know that the things go on in society and what's going on, but, you know, I just found it really, really kind of shocking that in 2017, we had Victorian living conditions. So long story short, I got nobbled by a lot of people who were current Liberal Democrat councillors. Would I think about standing for council? And what I learned in that journey is we do have this habit of when someone says, would you like to do something? Or sorry, when there's even an opportunity for a job or something out there that you could do, we do have this little habit of sometimes going, yeah, but I don't have this skill and I don't have that skill. And yeah, I don't think I'm qualified, so I'm not even going to try. Did you know that most men probably, you know, not even probably, it's kind of like there's fact behind it that, you know, they kind of go, yeah, I can do this and that. Oh, I don't know, that doesn't matter, right? Okay, I can just do it. I'm just going to throw my hat in the ring. And so we do have this sort of general sense, you know, thing about there's more men who end up being successful or pushing their way forward, because women tend to try and be a little bit perfectionist about some of these things. I really didn't understand what a local councillor was at the time, but you said, you know, I'd got to that point in my life where I was looking to really see if I can get in and help my community, because I'm passionately in love with where I live. And, you know, where we live, and we're really blessed, we have a very, very diverse community. We have the largest African population in the country here in Southwark, and we have a huge Bangladeshi community, and we've got Latin American, we just got everyone. Everyone's here. It's amazing. But to see some of the disparities, the inequalities, the wealth inequalities, not just, and you know, there's strong white working class communities here, but particularly with certain Caribbean communities, with the Bangladeshi communities, and it just didn't feel right at all. And so I kind of signed up and I said, fine, I'll stand, and still not really fully understanding what that meant, because in my life, my parents have always said to me, you can do whatever you want, go and explore, go and learn, ask questions. Don't ever take no for an answer. Mm-hmm. And I'm really, really blessed to have had parents who think in that way. And so for me, I don't feel that I necessarily hit barriers earlier on in my career, because I just kept going and saying, tell me why I can't do this. Tell me why I can't do this. But during my campaigning time, and since I've been a councillor, I realized that's not always the case for a lot of people who perhaps feel that they don't have the right to ask, perhaps feel that they don't have the capacity to ask, simply because they're just trying to get on with the lives that they've got on and the issues that they've got on the table right now. And for quite a lot of people, they just don't feel that they're being listened to at all. So that door knocking exercise is hugely, hugely important, to listen to people and hear people. I was quite shocked when I got elected, because as you might imagine, being a Lib Dem these days isn't necessarily the most popular of things. And we don't seem to do well in a very unfair electoral system that we introduced 200 years ago and desperately needs modernising. But the thing that stuck with me when I did get elected was one of the, I think it was one day I had a meeting with very soon after elected, a meeting with our children's services team. And at the end of that meeting, one lady hung back, and she was a refugee from Pakistan. And she took me to one side, because council officers have to be very, very neutral. And she waited for everyone else to leave the room. And she said to me, Councillor Ali, I just want you to know, I am so proud that you are now a councillor, because I feel like my voice is now represented on the council, because there are no other Pakistani women on the council. And I have to say, I nearly cried, because I just thought, why do you think just because of this, I would represent everybody? And it was still quite a shock for me that there will be people that feel this way. Every day as a local councillor is an absolute blessing in the people that I meet and the experiences that I share. And I just want to finish off by telling you a little bit about actually what it means to be a councillor and what you can do as a councillor. Because over the last 50, 60 years, a lot of power has been taken away from local authorities. I'm not going to get political in here. I would happily have that debate with the red team and the blue team about how local authorities used to have, you know, a power over what could happen in your communities, and education, welfare, healthcare have all been taken away back centrally. However, local councillors still can make quite a substantial difference. And one of the early things that I did was bring a motion to council around equalities, diversity. So I'm the opposition spokesperson for equality, communities and digital inclusion. And I wanted Southwark to, you know, decry and have a policy against Islamophobia. And that was a point in time as well. We're a Labour and Liberal Democrat council. So that was also a point where there was discussions about anti-Semitism and a variety of other things, but also that we should end tokenism in our approach to race and equality. And, you know, I just thought some of these motions are sometimes politicians who just like to talk and grandstand, but actually on the back of working with colleagues in both parties, we passed a motion 12 months ago, and now there are a lot of physical actions that are going into place within the borough, which reflect that, the anti-Islamophobia stance, and better around some of our equalities. So whether that's in contracts with suppliers, whether that's in the events that we hold, that we move away from tokenism in the way that we treat, whether it's Muslim events, whether it's Black events or whatever else. the interesting thing about that is, had I not been there, I'm gonna wrap up, sorry. Had I not been there, then there wouldn't have been that voice, that lens, that knowledge and that understanding from an Islamic perspective to bring that to the council. And there are many, many, many hundreds, I should say thousands of Muslims within Southwark. So this is why we need all voices to be heard. And I encourage all of you to find out more. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Humaira. I mean, we'll let you catch up with the chat also, you know, and I think what we can hear is definitely the passion that both you and Rakhia bring to the role. So I'm going to move on from our break. I know I had said we'd have a break, but I think just in terms of time, if we can keep going, and we've got, if anyone needs, you know, to be for a few minutes, that's fine. But let's move straight on to Councillor Shazia Bashir, who's from the Conservative Party and is based in Peterborough. Shazia, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum, beautiful people. Nice to see you all in these very strange times. I'm just quickly going to go through my bio and then I'll take you through my political journey. So I'm born in Peterborough and I'm a British Conservative Party politician. I got elected in 2018 as a city councillor for North Ward, taking the seat from the Labour Party over 100 years. I'm also an executive trustee and chair for various charities, the chief whip for our local group, and I was appointed as the cabinet advisor for children's services to advise and support the cabinet member for children's services and education on matters such as social care for children, looked after children, fostering children and children's centres, and especially helping troubled families. I'm a long-standing women's rights activist. I love fundraising for chosen charities, and just recently, I'm now an approved parliamentary candidate. Now, within a few minutes, I've just told you my bio, but it took me a 24 years journey. I had this passion within me at the tender age of 18. I remember at school, in my last year, there was a project on politics, and I knew from then that I wanted to make a difference in the world. And I can only make that difference if I can make a difference within my own life. I told my father that I wanted to get involved in politics, and I was hushed. And I, at that time, got an arranged marriage. So I put my politics desires at the back of my head, and I got on with my marriage. I had children, and I went through a lot of things within my marriage. But then one day I remember it all coming back to me, and I was thinking to myself, every year when there was the local elections, and I knew that I wanted to be that light, and I wanted to shine that light on people's path where there was darkness. I wanted to be that voice and not be suppressed. And being able to help people, single women, divorced women, and other peoples in the communities that didn't have a voice. So I remember telling my father again and my husband, and I said, I really want to get involved in politics. And my father and my husband wouldn't support me. And a lot of other things happened within my life. Eventually, I knew that I have to pave my way. So I let go of that marriage. Not just for the sake of politics, but I knew it wasn't working out for us. And I think it was bound to happen to make me stronger to come where I am. And at that time, I was a paid Labour member. And each time, and the challenges that I faced in wanting to be able to stand, because it was a man's world. Politics is a man's world, especially in the ethnic minorities. And every time I wanted to put my name forward, I was told, no, we'll give you a ticket next year, we'll let you stand next year. And they weren't having it. It was the same old people, the same old faces, and the same old corrupt ways they wanted to take it forward. And then I remember, and I what I started to do is get more involved in third-party sector, voluntary sector. So I was still helping people, but from different platforms. And then 2015, 2016, and correct me, Chair, if I'm wrong, it came on my Facebook feed that the Muslim Women's Network were working with Newsnight, and they had this story out, Labour women being stopped in the Labour Party coming forward. And that was a light bulb moment for me. I thought, hang on, well, I'm not the only one then. I plucked the courage and I spoke out on Newsnight. I spoke about my experience along a few of other ladies I remember from Birmingham and the North.
Correct.
And that story was picked up by media. And then I decided, well, you know what? If there's a block in my path and they won't allow me, there's other ways to getting to your destination. If you're taking one path and there's blocks, take another route. But politics is a journey. It's a long-term journey, you know. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to stand independent then, but I'm still going to stand. And nobody, and like my lovely sister, Councillor Humaira just said, and Rakhia, that they tell you why you can't do this. But no, we will tell you how this is done. So what I did is I decided to go independent. But then locally, I got approached by the local Conservative Party. They were in government here in Peterborough. And I stood in 2016. And another thing that was a problem, and which I'm sure is a problem within all parties, this is cross parties. This is none of us, all of us on this platform for MWN are talking about the political journey and inspiring women. We're not here to promote any of our parties. These are personal choices. And we can all, like Humaira said, have debates about it, but that's not what we're here for. What we're talking about here is the journey, and if we can do it, so can you. I got defeated by 20 votes, and I worked hard in the community. And what it was postal fraud. It's where the male speak to male members, they pay. And I was a single mum on benefits, and I'm not going to lie, and I was going to do it in integrity. I wasn't going to buy a vote from anyone because that was defeating the objective. And then obviously I wasn't serving my purpose. So I wasn't going to allow that defeat break me up. So I was lucky at that time I was able to meet the Home Secretary, which was Amber Rudd. I told her that this was going on. And I remember there was a report, ladies, by Sir Eric Pickles about postal fraud as well in cities such as Peterborough, Bradford, and a few others as well. And then she wrote, luckily she listened, and she wrote to the Electoral Commission, which at that time in 2018 did a pilot project in certain cities for the ID. And luckily in 2018, I got elected as a city councillor. My family at the beginning weren't very supportive. They were saying what people were going to say, but when they saw how determined I was and how I could do it, they happily support me in my journey where I am now. And since then, I've not looked back. Like I said, I got elected as the group whip, cabinet advisor, executive trustee. I'm an approved parliamentary candidate. And I will continue working hard and being voice and making sure that the voice is heard. And regardless of what color, creed we are, what we wear, we shouldn't be judged, and our voices will only get stronger. And can I take this opportunity to thank Shazia, to thank you, Faiza, and your team for helping me on my journey where I am. Thank you, girls.
Thank you so much, Shazia. I mean, so much just, perseverance and so much strength to keep going when the challenges keep coming, actually, we've got your back, and I guess that's the beauty, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we've always tried to do. Is there's something special about solidarity, particularly amongst women, and we can really, we need this across society, but I think there's a special place for women to hold the door open for each other, help each other up, and just be each other's supporters. So it warms my heart to know that you have kept going, and you've done the graft, and you're in a place now that you're living your dream, which is really good to hear about. You're welcome. I'm going to go on to our final speaker, which is Councillor Shahin Ashraf from Solihull, who's representing the Green Party today.
Hello, assalamu alaikum everyone. It's great to be on this platform. Thank you, Faiza. Thank you, Muslim Women's Network, for inviting me. It's an interesting journey. I'm listening to Shazia, Humaira, Rakhia, and I feel that your pain is my pain. And I was thinking, did I go through this by myself? But if only I had the solidarity of my sisters when I actually applied to be a councillor, to kind of guide me to where I am today. So I was elected last year, 2019, and my journey started off in 2017 actually. It was a local councillor within Solihull who had said all Muslims go back to back home. And interestingly, that was there was a protest on that weekend, on that Friday. I'd come from work from MWNUK at that time where I was working, and I'd rushed home, created my cardboard corrugated banner saying Muslims are part of Britain, or whatever it was that I'd created. I had the last bit of duct tape that was going to go around this banner, and I knew it's going to fall off, but I was going to make my way to the council, and I was going to be a one-woman protest. Nobody tells me and my family to go back home. We've been part of British society for the last 40 years. We will continue to be part of British society, and therefore I don't know any other place to where I could be sent to, and I'm sure that nobody could send me anywhere, for those of you who know me. And I was there with my one protest banner, and I stood there and I said, this councillor, I wanted an inquiry as to why this councillor was saying this. So interestingly, at the time, the other people that were around, which I didn't know, were people from the Green Party. We had one Labour councillor, but he was in the middle of, so there was two protests going on at the same time. So one was this individual that had said something, and we wanted him to retract his statements. The other one was, if you turn the banner around, it would save our schools, right? So it was interesting space to be in, because I didn't understand the juxtaposition of where I was in that space. Having said that, we'd got into a space where after this one woman protest, they asked us to go into the chamber upstairs to listen to what was happening within the chamber. And I saw this individual from up on high with my banner had broken by then. I'd lost my duct tape halfway through whilst protesting, and I got to the floor, and I thought to myself, Shahin, there's absolutely no way you are going to make a difference from here. You cannot just be part of a protest. And that was in 2017. I thought about it, went away for a bit. At that time I was living in Birmingham, and Birmingham, there's no way they were going to select a Muslim woman. There'd already been selection process and rigging in vote system, and I don't think I was ever going to get there. So I had moved to Solihull just recently, and what had happened was a letter came into my inbox at one point saying, would you like to become a councillor? And if anybody knows the makeup of Solihull, Solihull is on average, it's 89.1% white. And we've got 6.5% Asian, and then 2.2% mixed race, and 1.5 black. And then the other 0.6% other. For me, it was, there's no way I'll make a councillor, particularly the fact that I look overtly different in this space. There's no way I'm going to make a councillor. So I had a word with who was the leader of the Green Party at that time, and he said, Shahin, we had a private meeting in one of the coffee shops, and he said, Shahin, I think you make a great councillor. My problem was I was having my own imposter syndrome by saying, I don't think I can do this. But part of the narrative was, you've got to be able to do this because people like this individual councillor are going to get away with it if you're not part of that. So what if you're different, right? The challenge for you is not to think about the here and now. The challenge for you is to be able to understand what is yet to come. That will be the life of your children, the other children that are in our schools, the Black and minority, ethnic and refugee communities that come into this area that at the moment is 90% white. However, you are going to have you are going to have people who, who do well and who want to buy housing in this area. So part of that was that challenge. And it became to a point where I thought to myself, right, maybe I will fill in my councillor form. And immediately within 5 minutes in for filling out my councillor form and sending it back, 3 members of the Green Party called me and said, absolutely, Shahin, we will take you on. We had to do the hustings where I had to give a small speech, had passed that. And although I have to say, I had no political desire prior to that in being around politics or the like. And then what happened after that was we went for campaigning, and it's what Humaira said. She spoke about, being part of this campaign, and it was to do with the door knocking that I had. I knocked on lots of people's doors, and people were talking about issues that were different from me, but talking about the issues that really resonated with me. Like, for example, people who are on EHCP plans, which is, somebody whose child was autistic was not getting support from the council in terms of, help with speech therapy. So they needed a councillor to support them on their behalf. But what I found when door knocking was, you found a range of things, whether it's to do with housing, whether it's to do with social housing, whether it's to do with inequality, whether it's to do with health issues, so every door had something. And I thought, whilst I may be different, I can actually resonate with people's issues. And part of that was, I was elected last year. I had a 67% swing vote in an area that was predominantly white and elderly. And I think part of that was being overwhelmed by the fact that people who knew that I was different voted for me based on the credentials that I had in order to represent them. And that's what we are here for, to represent our constituents. And every councillor on this call, whether it's Shazia, whether it's Rakhia, whether it's Humaira, have said that we are here representing our community, our constituents on issues around, be they climate change issues, or be they issues that are, based on our social values, be they around sustainable society, be they on corporate greed, be they on just recovery or health or issues. Our council is made up of 51 councillors, 27 of those are Conservative, 14 are Green, and then we have 6 Lib Dems, 3 Labour and 1 Independent. And part of that is actually seeing things that we've done in council, like recently we passed the climate change motion within our council. And the other thing is that probably for the first time in Solihull Council, a brown woman will be standing up speaking around social housing in one of its poorer boroughs. I'm going to leave it there because I think there's a lot that's been said, but I think there's a lot of questions that want to be, people want to ask a lot of questions. One of the things that I can say is that I think that you as an individual, even if you do not have the qualities of what you think that you do need to be a councillor, I think if you can speak to people, and if those issues resonate with you, and if you're a brilliant listener, you would make a great councillor.
Thank you so much, Shahin. I mean, the chat is definitely filled with lots of kind of shared appreciation for everything that you've done. And I think that's the message that I'm getting from all the councillors that I've spoken today, that it is that passion, that wanting to help and support the community. And I think maybe as women, I don't know, maybe we're good at sabotaging ourselves, you know, the self-saboteurs, and talking ourselves out of things when actually we're more than qualified to stand, more than qualified to participate. And I think it's really encouraging to hear each of you say that, because I'm hoping that there are people in the audience now thinking, well, actually, if these women can do it, I can do it also. So we've got 8 minutes left of this call. So what we're going to do is ask all of you, if you've got any questions that you want to ask immediately, please do share them on the chat now. As MWNUK, we will be sending you all the links that was mentioned today, and I think Rizwana will paste it into the chat just for you to know. I also want to share with you, as part of the Coalition of Equal Power, there are a number of training opportunities coming up, one of which is run by the Parliament Project. And I'm just, Zara, can you share this? These are some of the sessions coming up. There's another session which the Muslim Women's Network is holding with MPs who are female and BAME. And I know we can have a debate about I think that's come up in the chat as well, you know, the term BAME and whether that's reflective or not. Okay, Humaira saying definitely thumbs down. Yeah, you know what, I think right now we really need to think around this term. My position right now is that at least it's giving us something to discuss, and my fear is that if we didn't have the term, actually we wouldn't be talking about it. But you know, that's the discussion for another day. Just focusing on the sessions, our other session, which is in partnership with the Parliament Project, is exploring your political pathway. And that's really about how to. So if you've been inspired today and you want to know more about the steps that you need to take, obviously you've got some snippets of information from the stories we've heard about door knocking and, you know, hustings and all of those things. But if you want to know that kind of bit by bit, that's definitely a session for you. The Parliament Project are also running How Can I Become a Councillor, specifically on the 8th of July. Obviously now everything's online, so all of these sessions are online. There's also a session on How Can I Become an MP. There's also a session which is Meet the New Girls Network. I think coming up in the chat, what we're hearing also is that we need to be connected and we need support, and it may be that we need to reach out to other people in our area or otherwise. So I definitely recommend that that's a session if you feel that's something you need. Glitch UK are also running a session called Digital Self-Defense. We know that women online are more likely to be trolled, to be, you know, well, trolled, I'll stop there. But essentially the session is about keeping yourself safe online and how you can better do that. And then there's other sessions around community organizing and leadership, because ultimately, from what I've heard, the women today who've spoken have all said that even before they were in politics, they were politically active or civil, you know, doing civic roles, whether it's a school governor, whether it's running a local charity or voluntary organization. So many of you watching today may be in that position where, you know, you're the doers, you're the ones who take action. And actually, if that's you, then chances are that being a local councillor could also be you. So I'm going to stop there. Zara, can we stop sharing the screen? We're going to share the links. Are there any, we've got 5 minutes for questions. So are there any burning questions that anyone feels hasn't been answered today? We'll just wait for them to come through. And then speakers, if you want to add anything, feel free to do that now.
What I'd like to say is, as ethnic minority women, we are often not elected because we are not often connected to the right people or to the right unions, because some of us who are Labour are supported by the unions. But the most important thing of all, when you put aside everything else, is when you eventually get selected and elected, that is when the biggest hurdles come. And that's the thing we need to be prepared, because you need to be competing, and you will be competing for positions such as cabinet or chair in a group or just having a lead position as ethnic minority women. And often we don't get it because we are just, we kind of like, what's called a tick box, that we are part of the parties, whatever party we belong, but we don't get the opportunities. And that's what we need to, as Muslim women and as ethnic minority women, have to fight for it. And you need to build alliance within your parties, and you need to really work hard, because to get those positions are not easy, and they're very, very difficult. And you have to be on the ball, basically. So I hope you can take that bit as an advice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rakhia. Shahin, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Rakhia, for that. I think I'm on 2 scrutiny boards. One is education and skills, and the other one is stronger communities. And I think Humaira spoke about her being on equality, diversity, and digital inclusion. I think one of the things is knowing your portfolios and knowing them well. The other thing is, when I went into council the first time I came in, I mean, I've got a 65-year-old old white men and all white women sitting around, and my name was first because it was the Councillor Ashraf. And interestingly, I'd given a comment in my first scrutiny meeting on something. I think it was something to do with education. And interestingly, they turned around and said to me, Councillor Ashraf, you seem to know awful a lot about these kind of social issues that the community seems to face. And I was really surprised by your amount of knowledge. I could have taken that the wrong way. I did initially for a first second. Then I thought, no, my job is to represent our constituents, and therefore I need to have enough knowledge to be able to share as a councillor in that chamber on issues that really matter to the people that I'm serving. So you are the voice of the people, you are the voice of your constituency. I am the voice of Shirley South. And for me, that was the most important thing. And you do get lots of wads of paper that you have to read through. But I think one of the things is understand there is the national picture of what happens, and there is the local narrative of what happens, and there are your constituents that need your help. And trying to marry the two is a really important thing. And for those of us who, I love reading, I'm a bit of a policy geek on that kind of thing, but it's really important to understand the makeup of what you're trying to do and where you are selected. And as you said, Rakhia, it is really hard to get into these spaces, but once you're in that space, I think within the first year or in the first couple of months of a scrutiny, just listen to personalities and pick up the traits of those people and continue to listen. And then when you have a point, keep making that point. If your point is about diversity, like my point is always about equality or inequality in my case, just bring that point. Eventually, I've noticed now in the 5th draft of any minutes, now they don't even bother asking me about inequality. They put that in the draft minutes knowing that Councillor Ashraf is going to ask that, but we'll preempt her and always have it, because the question is always going to be raised.
Okay.
And I think it's about smart thinking and a smart way of doing things.
We're at 2 o'clock, so I'm sorry to cut you off. Humaira, do you want to say a quick bye before I know you have to leave. Thank you, Shahin.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much on the topic. And when I've seen some of the questions going through, people have talked about self-confidence, people have talked about second-guessing themselves. And as all of us have said today, just park the party affiliations and what that means for a second. It is the biggest honour to represent your community. You don't need to have a degree. You don't need to know in depth about policy type subjects. You just need to know your neighbours, your neighbourhood, your community. And through being a councillor, I have got to know every nook and cranny of my community, some things that I didn't even know existed. And what it has brought, just as I finish, is if we think about what's happened during COVID, I think we've all been involved in mutual aid groups of some description or another, and also had a foot in the council camp of council hubs and their distribution of food and what have you. Being able to hook the two together has been absolutely vital, because people have been so you know, enthusiastic about coming forward to help. And without having their representative, there wasn't really, and there is look into. And now we've got so many more people active in our communities who want to make a difference. And absolutely, it's very exciting that we're going to see some councillors of the future coming from that group as well. I really hope that of all the people attending today, you would like to get involved with politics at a local level, because it's not about mudslinging, it's about working together to make your community a better place. And thank you very much. Got to run.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shazia, I'm going to let you have the last word.
Thank you. I just, again, I'm just going to, I won't reiterate what my colleagues have said. What I will say is, a lot of women out there will probably think, well, with politics, I've got young children or in-laws or family or cooking or a job. Believe me, the support is there. The support is there once you get elected, you have a team, member services are there. And within your own ward and groups, you have your own existing fellow councillor or action team leader. So don't let these things put you off. Take the first step and start volunteering in your ward or where you wish to stand and build that team up. It's all about teamwork.
Thanks so much, Shazia. And thank you all for joining us. I know we're a few minutes over. We'll still stick around. So if anyone wants to speak to us, feel free to stay on. I mean, we won't go, but the session will formally end now. And we'll definitely follow up with emails to all of you with the links that have been provided. But just thank you so much for your time today, especially to the councillors, and hope to speak to you again soon. Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon.